Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little Slaw YouTube channel. So today I will walk you through how to create an Azure virtual machine through click operations, and this is going to be interesting. And in fact, I have started playlists on Azure and in fact with AWS as well. So in fact I have discussed about I just took through the basics of AWS in a separate video, and this is for Azure. I have explained about what an Azure virtual machine is, and in this video and again there was another video where I have explained about different ways of creating Azure virtual machine, that is through click operations, through Terraform code, through Azure CLI, through ARM template. And this is the first technique, the very first way to easily create and understand what exactly is happening. And in fact, there are a lot of other things that you need to understand in terms of Azure. Like for example, you need to understand what a subscription is, what a resource group is, what a region is, what is availability options are, what is an image size. So I'll explain you all of them in a separate videos for this. I don't want to confuse bringing all of them because that will take an entire day for you to understand, because explaining all of these. So in this video I'll explain you about the step-by-step on creating the Azure virtual machine. And in fact, here is the portal. I have logged into the portal, and once you log into the portal, we have to search. Either you can search for virtual machines. Here you can type virtual machines, or in the dashboard you can see the virtual machine. So I'm going to click on the virtual machines here, and let me do a quick refresh. So once you get this window, click on the create button, and I'm going to create the virtual machine. And this is the basics tab. So in the basics tab, you can see the subscription. So the subscription, I'll tell you, explain you what a subscription is in a separate video, because that's going to be more interesting and with more information. So every subscription will have a resource group. So I'm going to choose the resource group. And once I choose the resource group, I'm going to give the virtual machine's name. So this is the host name, which I'll enter now. So I'm going to keep it as like VM minus Little Slaw, and then the region. So in our case, I'm going to use East US. So I'm going to use EUS and then 001. So this is going to be the format for creating the virtual machine. And now I'm going to enter the region. So in our case, I'm going to keep it straight as South Central to be fine. And in the availability zone, there are three options we have. One is no infrastructure redundancy. This is the cheapest one, which is good for dev and test. And then we have the availability zone, which protects against data center failures. And then we have the availability set, which ensures the VMs are distributed across the fault domain. So in our case, I'm going to just choose no infrastructure redundancy required, because this is just for development and testing. And then in the security type, I'm going to choose the standard one. And then coming back to the image, so here I'm going to choose either, there are a lot of options. Again, I would say we have got Windows Server, we have got Ubuntu, we have got Red Hat Linux. So in our case, I'll just go with the Windows one. So I'll choose a Windows. Again, we have a lot of options here. We have from Windows 11 to Windows 2019, Windows 2022, Windows 25. And in Red Hat Linux, we have got Linux 9.4, 8.10, Ubuntu as well. So a lot of options are here. So that's what I was telling you. So in case if you want to create any powerful machine, we can easily do that through a Windows virtual machine. So for now I'll just choose a Windows 2022 Server Edition, and the VM architecture is an x64, and the size I'll go with the given one. And next comes the username and password. So this is for authenticating yourself. So I'm going to create as Little Slaw, and then I'm going to give password here. Let me confirm the password. Yep, so it's done, it's matching. And now let's go to the next step, that is the port details. In fact, we all know about these ports, right? The RDP, the HTTP, HTTPS, SSH. So RDP is for Windows, and if you're using a Linux machine, then you have to choose SSH. And if you are using it for hosting a web app, in that case you have to use it, you have to enable HTTP and HTTPS. In our case, I'm going to use RDP because I just want to use it as a VM. That's it. And now I'm going to click on next, which is the disk section. So let's configure the storage. So Azure gives us the flexibility in performance and cost. So in terms of OS disk type, we have got several options. So when I click on ticket C, we got several sizes here, and then in the disk type we can see the standard HDD. So this is the cheapest, but it is slowest. Again, we all know about the HDD, the hard disk drive. And then we have got the standard SSD, which has a balanced performance. And then we have got the premium SSD, which is of high performance, and it is for ideal for production. So for now, I'll just choose the basic one, that is the standard SSD, because again, this also impact your cost as well. And then we have got the encryption type. So I'll go with the win. Again, we have got the keys here. So the Azure managed keys, which are the default and easiest. And then we have got the customer managed keys for compliance and heavy environments. I'll go with the platform managed keys, and then I'm going to click on next. So here, this is the networking part. And in fact, I will have to teach you about the virtual network, what a virtual network is, and what a subnet is, what a public IP is, and what a NIC, that is in the network interface card, and then the accelerator networking and load balancer. For now, I'm going to create a new VNet. Under the VNet, I'm going to create a subnet, and in fact, the subnet has side ranges as well. And we have got a public IP to use. So this is the IP which I'm going to use to connect to my machine, right? So that's why we have to create a public IP. And then we have got the public inbound ports. I'm going to use the same RDP port. I'm not going to change anything else. And here there is an option to delete the public IP and the NIC when the VM is deleted. So in case if I'm deleting my VM, I can delete, my public IP and the NIC will also be deleted automatically along with this. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. So let me give a check. So when I delete the VM, automatically these also will be deleted. And now here we have got two options. One is the Azure load balancer, and then the application gateway. So you can use if you're deploying multiple VMs behind a single endpoint, and this application gateway again also act as a load balancer, because we can actually define the backend pools, the backend settings and everything. In fact, we'll see about that in a separate video. But for now, I'm going to choose with the none. I just have only one machine, so there is no use of doing a load balancing. And now I'm going to use go to the management tab. So this is for monitoring and automation. So where you can check for the boot diagnostics, which will enable to capture the logs and screenshots during startup. And then we have got the guest OS, the OS guest diagnostics, which will collect the performance metrics like CPU, the memory and disk usage. So if we want to monitor them, then we will have to enable these guest in the OS guest diagnostics. And then we have got the auto shutdown, so where we can schedule daily shutdown to save costs. Say for example, if you're working in your office like from 9 to 5, after 5 you can actually disable this so that you can save some cost in it. So when you choose this, you can actually select the shutdown time and the time zone and the email, so that you get an email trigger to you. And then we have got the next one, that's the monitoring part. So in the monitoring, you can enable the recommended alerts, and you can choose the alerts as well, like for example the heartbeat of the VM, and you can set up several alerts for this VM as well. So that's so interesting, and it's more useful part as well. And this is again for monitoring purposes. And then we have got the boot diagnostics, where we have got to enable with the managed storage account, enable with custom storage account, and disable. And then we have got enable guest storage diagnostics. This is what I was talking about. So this will help us to collect the CPU, memory and disk usage. In case if I'm not enabling it, you will not be able to collect all those details. And then I'm going to enable the application health monitoring. This will enable the health monitoring for the VM. And then we have got the advanced So advanced settings actually lets us customize our VM with scripts and extensions. So extensions like we can add extensions like Microsoft anti-malware or custom script extensions for to run partial or bash scripts, and even we can add monitoring agents as well. So in case if I want to do it, I can choose all those. So for example, if I want to, so Microsoft anti-malware, I'm choosing it. So I have to give all the conditions here, and then if I want to use dynamics or for example Dynatrace, I think Dynatrace one agent. So in case if I want to install Dynatrace one agent in my VM, I can install it. So through this I can do all my monitoring and stuff, right? So but I have to give the environment ID, the API token, and then the server URL, and from then on automatically any data that I need for my app Dynatrace will be taken from here. So I have no other items to enable here, so let me click on next, and here we have got the review and create. So we are almost done, so let's review the few things here before we complete. So tags help us organize and manage our resources across Azure. So we can add key value pairs like which environment do we need. Say for example, I can type the environment, and then the value is going to be like production, and then I've got my next tag, which is like who is the owner. So owner is going to be little slaw, and then we have got the project. So what project is this one? So it's for a web app. So by doing all this, you can actually add some tasks, and this is useful for building reports, for automation scripts, and for resource grouping as well. And finally, the last step, the review and create. So we are almost done. So let's review everything. So Azure validates your configuration that so far what we have set up, and you will see an estimated monthly cost. This is for every hour. You will also see an estimated monthly cost as well. And you will see like you can review all the settings here in one page, like enable hibernation, username, password, public inbound ports, and you have a Windows license and everything, like right from disks to networking to management to monitoring to advanced tags and all. And finally, if you click on create, this step, the final action will create a VM. So, and yes, there we have it. Our virtual machine is now fully deployed and live. So here you can see we have got a virtual machine with the name that I have given there, and then a public IP address. So by default it has followed the IP followed by our virtual machine name, and then we have got a network security group which will be created when we create a VM. And then as I showed you, we have got a VNet, and then we have got a network interface, and finally the disk that is created along with the VM, because for a laptop we must need a disk, right? So same way for a virtual machine also we need a disk. So that is what we have got here. In fact, if we want to add more disk, we can do that. So everything is neatly provisioned in the location that's in South Central US, and our VM is ready to go. So from here you can start deploying your app, you can configure your services, or you can even scale your environment as needed. So whether you're building a dev box or hosting a web app or testing out cloud automation, this VM is your launch pad. So thank you so much for following along. If this walkthrough helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with what you would like to see next. Until then, happy building in Azure. Take care and bye-bye.